7:02 p.m. with us is Ms. Bird, Mr. Brandenburg, Ms. Wyndham, Ms. Hewell, Ms. Ragland, myself, and Ms. Carlisle, and I expect Ms. Keenan. Ms. Taylor will not be with us. Ms. Keenan and Catherine Lewis will be here in a wee bit. So I see no other reps later. I want to start off, first of all, with a report, because she stayed late for us, as the branch manager of our host, and our host here from month after month is Jenny Palmer from the Fulton County Library of Ponce. Jenny.
Well, first of all, thank you for letting the Friends of the Ponce Library have a booth at Summerfest over the weekend. We really appreciate it, and it was very successful for us. So thank you. And you all have been so generous to us over the past several years. And so I wanted to let you know what we have spent the money that you gave to us this past year on. We have had several programs, including 6 yoga classes for adults that we have in this room here. We had some in January and February, and we got some comments such as, "What a wonderful offering to the public. Our instructor was nurturing, patient, and professional. And this teacher is so dear." We had Mary Jane Pennington from Candler Park Yoga, so she's a local teacher in the area. We have a monthly book discussion group that meets the second Tuesday of the month. And we bought some extra books, 4 copies of The Snow Child and 5 copies of The Dinner, just because we didn't have enough copies in the system, so we needed to buy a few more copies for our book club members. We bought some floor mats for our circulation area back there because we were standing all day. As you can probably tell, there's not much cushion under these carpets here. Our periodical subscriptions, our budget was cut over the last several years, especially last year. So your donation allowed us to renew GQ, New York, Popular Science, Runner's World, Vanity Fair, and Vogue for another year. So we're grateful for that, and I know our patrons are really grateful for that too, because for the months that we didn't have those, we got a lot of questions and complaints. Madigan, our children's librarian, went to Tuesday morning and bought $250 worth of board books to replace some of the old and worn out ones in the children's department. And you know, if you go to Tuesday morning regularly, you can get a bunch of books for just a couple of dollars. So she got a lot of books. And we have an upcoming program at the end of this month. Reuben Holler, Fiddlin' Dan is going to be coming. I know he's already got it. So we're excited about that. So thank you very much. We continue to be grateful for the support and generosity.
Thank you. I mean, we've been meeting here, the association's been meeting here for longer than anybody can remember. It's a great tradition, and we appreciate you all a great deal for that, but for everything else you do in this ridiculously busy and successful range. So, any questions for Jimmy? Thank you so much, and thanks for letting us meet here after you're gone. Drive safe here. I expect the police will walk in and we'll get them on the agenda as soon as we get a break, but we are otherwise ready to go right to the variance applications, which we're going to start off as Saran.
Soren's not, no, he went back to the church.
Good.
He's on his way.
And is Mark here? Well, I know he's not. So, sir, Tom, you're right up. 895 a day.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tom Grabowski. My wife and I purchased $8.95 a dare.
You can stand over here.
Oh, over here.
Sorry, it's all good. You're all good.
We purchased $8.95 a dare about 6 weeks ago. And working on a variance plan, which was, I believe, at the last meeting subject to some calculations of impact related to the tree in the back. That was supposed to be done by today. I provided it around 11:30 this morning, 11:45, and it came out to be, I got another, you can have 20, I think it's 12, I don't have to tell you. It's far below that, and it's to build a garage. There's currently a shed that sits in basically the same spot, except the garage is going to be twice as wide. And it's a permanent shed, it's not like it's going to be as serious as concrete floor and stuff like that. And it is a setback for, off the top of my head, it's the size 7 feet, and it's to make it 4.2 or 4.3 feet, which is exactly where the shed sits today. And in the rear, there's an alley, right? So I get 5 feet of the 10 feet credit for that, and it's going to sit 2 feet off the alley. So that is 7 feet of a 15-foot setback there. So it's really, I'm looking at an 8-foot setback. No, an 8-foot setback on the other side, on the back side. So I don't know if that math works for everybody, because the alley gets a little confusing. You get 5 feet, and then it sits 2 off. So it's going to sit 7 feet off in a typical 15-foot setback.
So at the last meeting there, we'll hear from some neighbors. Our neighbors here to speak on this, and you're going to get a chance to do so in just 1 second. But there was an extended discussion on this on a couple of different issues, including whether or not there was a tree or two that wasn't that was correct. And your tree still shows less than 6 inches to be removed, and I don't know, is that what it shows, the new one?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's less than 6 inches, but I want to explain a couple things here about whether it is or not. One of our big focuses with the trees is we're not here to dispute the measurement of the arborist department will measure them. We want to insist that they be here, and I'm less concerned about whether they're 6.2 or 5.8, that they be on the plan so that there's no question that they are considered appropriately. Our big worry on these issues is we're not saying anyone does anything intentionally, because we have no way of knowing what anyone's intent is anyway, but we want the plans to be right so that when the arborist gets them, the building department gets them, that they are looking at an essentially accurate set, and if they haven't measured quite right, that can be dealt with when they go to look at it. The other piece I want to point out in that is that typically, sometimes the arborist comes, but typically neither the planning department or the building department necessarily makes a visit. In fact, they most often do not make a site visit. So our concern is to see that the data that is transmitted on the plan is essentially correct. So he has sent this plan in. I talked to Paul today, so I know that y'all may not have gotten it, but we got it in a timely fashion, and I assume y'all did, and I may not have. But I think but anyway, I'd like to throw that open to any comments from any other neighbors here. Tom, you didn't mention the height. The height as originally proposed was 18 feet.
Right.
Now, you are now looking at,
At the last meeting, the approval was subject to the condition that I believe I've satisfied the approval was to reduce it to 17 feet.
and 17
That's
feet,
fine.
so it's now in front of us. All right. Are there comments from anyone here at all? Anyone in the audience have a question or concern for us or Tom or anyone? Sir?
If no one else, I've sort of become the de facto spokesman. I don't know how that happened, but. Step back.
Well, Paul, you're speaking for yourself. But stand right up and speak. That's good enough.
I'm speaking for myself. I think
good enough.
that this process is very good. I understand that we talked about some things last time that were really not for this meeting. They're for later to deal with arborists in the city, et cetera. But your point's a really good one, and that's accuracy of the drawings. And that's taken 4 cycles so far, as I can count, to get them right. The last one involved a meeting last time in which they weren't right and had to be corrected for today. And they're still grossly in error in terms of impervious cover underneath the tree. It's just, I don't know that there was supposed to be someone to come out between, last week and today and that didn't happen, and so the drawings that were submitted are old, and there's a lot of concrete and driveways and impervious surface within the mulberry tree roots that are not reflected on the plan, and so they're still.
You know,
Hang on one second, hang on one
I'm
second.
sorry.
Hang on, don't raise your hand, you'll get a chance. We want to hear from you.
So it's really just a matter of having the drawings right, that's all.
Do you have anything, I appreciate your statement. I also don't know specifically what you're talking about. So if you would tell us what you're talking about much more specifically, I would appreciate it.
This is the tree circle.
I'm sorry?
This is the tree root zone, critical root zone of the tree. Off of those drawings,
Uh-huh.
expanded out. And all this area that I've marked in here and is shown on this photograph is all existing impervious pavement, et cetera, that's not marked on the drawing. And so the impact thing is not right. Now, I realize that's not for now, but
Now I see it, Tom, I can't, Paul, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not, I understand, you've marked pavers that are marked IPF on his drawing. I want to point out that no matter what we think of these drawings, whether we think the tree is going to be 100% fine or it doesn't have much chance at all, that is not a decision that we make or that the BZA makes or that anybody but the arborist department is going to make. What we want to know is that the arborist is looking at an accurate representation of the drawing. And I'm not sure I see you think that the alley pavers are impervious? Is that what you're saying?
the concrete driveway and the concrete patio, which are,
No, the alley pavers are the pavers in the alley make that area impervious.
you know, I'm just showing you the stuff that wasn't marked on there that was marked. I don't know what is impervious. I don't know what impervious is.
They're impervious.
They're-
They're impervious, the backyard of the.
Hang on one second, I want everybody to raise their hand, and Stephanie, please go ahead. I don't want everybody to just jump in. Go ahead.
I was just answering your
Please.
question.
Yeah, no, go ahead. So you went and eyeballed them and.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I will be happy to see that they are marked correctly. Tom, we're gonna take another look over there.
That's fine. You know,
It doesn't,
This is the exact topic I had, I just want to go for the record. This is the exact topic I emailed with Chip about all weekend, because I want to make sure these plans were reflective of it, because what the document says is when you're doing the net critical root zone, you take where it overlaps roads and structures. And Chip was very clear over the weekend that roads were roadways where you dig deeper and have more, it's structures and roads, it's not things like.
Shallow
Yeah.
neighbors, basically, I saw that email.
Right, so that's where this came out.
so fortunately, this is above our pay grade, and I'm so happy that it is. Not because I'm afraid to make the decision. If we were vested with that power, we would ask several learned people, study, read on it, go down there and try to make an intelligent decision. Or what we will do, and I'm not confident there's any intentionality in any of this, but it doesn't matter. I will be happy to go and take photographs and submit photographs about what they were. Tom, you don't object to my coming onto your property and taking the thing? I appreciate that. I will do that. I've spoken to the neighbors. I know they will allow it as well. And we'll get the proper information in front of the arborists. And I think under the circumstances, especially with the degree of interest that has been expressed here, there's a very high probability that the arborist is going to make a site visit and look for him or herself at this. And I think that's ideal. I mean, that's one of the best outcomes that could occur, is the arborist will come out and not even believe what we suggest or what Mr. Leonard suggests or what anybody suggests. When this degree of interest occurs, they will come and look. And that is just, in my opinion, if you were in the city of Decatur, that would occur on the most trivial of variances every single time. And I would much prefer that. I cannot tell you how much we would endorse that notion. That is our dream come true, is that the powers that be go to every single one and look, but they do not, which is why they have a lot in front of them. I know our taxes might go up, but nonetheless, I wish they would. And I'd pay my share happily. So, okay, with the understanding that we're gonna come and make comments and we'll label it and we'll modify it. And with the understanding that, and this is another understanding, this needs to be resubmitted.
Yeah, you're gonna file it again?
To file it again, and we'll file our comments with it that we will attach to it. And we'll file them with the Bureau Office of Buildings down there. Happy to do it because of the unusual interest here. I will go and look my own damn self to see what exactly what is there. Now, a couple of points that are worth noting here for the applicant. Chip noted. Let me refer back to the Inman School case. It was at Inman recently, we had a tree that was declared DDH by the arborist over near Clemont. And a couple of the neighbors wanted it saved, and they pointed out that it had survived a number of things already, and why couldn't it survive a wee bit more? The arborist, if I may paraphrase this colloquially, we hired a private arborist that the coffin suggested, and he went out and we paid him to go look. And he said, I think I agree with the other arborists, while there may not be much disturbance in the future work, this tree is compromised by what has already gone on there, and in my view, it's showing various signs of distress. It should just be removed. It's not worth fooling with anymore. That was his judgment. Now, there are judgment calls in being arborists, as Ms. Coffin will tell you, and her husband will tell you, that are never, sometimes not perfect, sometimes easy. So the arborist will go and look. We'll see that they have the right information. They may declare this tree DDH. They may ask that it be removed. That's all into them. They may have to negotiate with a neighbor. That's all in their final acts. I think we've got great information about what's going on here on a level which is fine. It's just fine. Is there any other comment anyone else has on this topic? Yes, ma'am.
My question to the adjacent neighbors would be, if that tree wasn't there and there wasn't a critical root zone at risk, would there be any objection to the increased size of the garage?
You know, I don't think this tree, I guess, I'm sorry.
Hang on one second. That question is to the adjacent neighbors.
To the adjacent neighbors. Does anyone have any objections to increasing the size of the garage or these two setbacks?
Yeah, we brought that up.
We brought that up.
At the last meeting, just it's gonna cover a huge portion of a very small yard
It's a
as
height
it is,
issue.
and a height issue.
Enjoyment of, we get morning sun there, and that'll block the morning sun in our patio for a few hours every day, and so, it's
And it's just a small shed right now, and it's
Yes,
gonna be a big old two-car garage, and yeah.
that high, and now it's gonna be 18 feet high.
And I think that was something we were talking a yard down and not an
Yeah.
adjacent neighbor, but on one down.
I'm actually extremely puzzled, Debbie, about that question. Why did you ask that question?
Because there's been a lot of focus on something that you all, and the NPU can't really decide. And at the end of the day, the only question that'll be in front of the BZA is whether or not that garage can be built where it's built. And so I just wanted to hear if...
That would appear to me to be a question to raise at the BZA. If that is a question, it's not in front of our group.
I'd like to know the answer to the question before it got raised at the BZA, quite frankly.
Yes, we feel like it's gonna be it's gonna be a large portion of that land and also blocking our
And the
view.
applicant submitted a smaller, lower profile one, and that was a big improvement.
Well, at the same time,
Yeah,
he has gone
absolutely.
down a
Yes,
foot
he
in
absolutely.
height,
We
which
really
is
appreciate
directly
that,
on
yeah.
point in terms of light and the passage of light and air.
Right.
And I mean, Debbie, I would just ask you, do you think there's the tiniest, would you like to estimate it over single digits, the chance that the BZA will say, gee, the neighbors think it's a little bigger than they would wish, therefore it won't be approved?
My experience with the BZA over the last 4 years is that they approve 95% of all applications.
I just want to be realistic here.
We are very
And I'd like to
realistic,
be
yeah.
very
Believe me, we
realistic
drive
about
around the
this.
neighborhood, we see what's happening, so, yeah.
Well, you're saying after we got a crack at some of
Yeah.
this. Okay, are there any other comments on point for this, questions for Tom? Tom, do you have any last time? And I don't think you need to, but I mean, is there anyone for anyone else? All right, Lola, can you give us the report and the motion, whatever?
At the last meeting, we had these outstanding issues, and so the questions that we had for those have been answered to the the best that we can basically review. We know that there have been other review processes, so we recommended approval conditioned on getting the information about the trees, and that it would be conditioned on a 17-foot garage. So we have this information, so I would recommend, I'm going to recommend approval of the 15, whatever. 129. Conditioned on receiving revised site plans and the arborist visit with making sure that everything is on the plan, and the 17-foot garage.
So, Tom, what we're gonna need you to do, I think, here, because this is put a note, additional note on the site plan that said height of garage at peak not to exceed 17 feet. Is there any other form, Debbie, that we need to order? I think that's the only form. And the BZA will be okay with that. And typically, if it's on the site plan, even though it may not always be typical to have the height on the site plan, they will accept it on the site plan. And so that's the motion you're making with that conditional. And this has to be filed. We need a new clean copy of it saying that stuff before the BZA meeting, the NPU meeting that Debbie will be running a week from tonight over there. And we'd prefer it by Friday if you could, because we can glance and see that there's everything's cool and we're online if you can do it.
Stamped by the city.
Stamped by the city. And the hard part is sometimes they tell you, I just tell them to stamp it and don't go home until they do.
To put it back into the file, basically, over it.
Yeah.
And give us a copy.
And we'll come visit you this week, and I'm gonna just annotate what we've got on here. And it's gotta look like this with the addition of the note, height of bridge, height of garage, not to thanks. That's the motion. Is there a second? There's still one last chance for comment. Yes, sir.
Do you know the objection of the adjacent neighbors here? And I'm sorry, I'm new to this process, but do you know that in your regular?
We will make a report noting that the neighbors at the planning meeting and at this meeting raised a series of concerns about it. And I can't quantify it, and we don't seek to, but I mean, we're gonna list the objections. And Mr. Leonard brought us last week.
And our other neighbors are out of town, but they would be here. I just wanted to.
It's fine, I know, yeah, they have even better chances than here to express their opinion if they have them. And I think one of the points of Ms. Skopinski's, without trying to speak for her, was that she was trying to channel it into a discussion, into something that might be heard at any point by the BZA, because I mean, as I mentioned at the other meeting, we take all this very seriously, but ultimately we don't vote our personal opinions of this or anything else. Needs to be a code-based point, that we try to act within the confines of the code, and that works best for everyone. As you heard, Mr. Arnold, I thought we had stretched that point at the last meeting. We don't think we did, but I understand. Any last other discussion, any questions for anyone, for anybody?
I would like to ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that in the revised tree ordinance, which is stuck right now, there is a checklist for plans that has to be satisfied before it goes to the arborist.
Right.
And I asked Debbie if there was a checklist for the NPU, and I just wondered if, I don't know the answer, but do you have a checklist for Virginia-Highland Civic Association before you accept plans? Do you have a checklist? I mean, like trees and,
I
regular
don't
stuff?
think we have an item labeled checklist. As I've repeated and we said over and over again, every time we look at this, we're going to look at trees, stormwater runoff, accuracy of the plans submitted, information and data and opinions voiced by neighbors.
The reason why I'm asking this, Jack, is because if there were checklists had on it, like the tree,
It's
right,
on
because-
the website. We do
because
have
this was missed, and I just wondered if a checklist would help that.
I don't mind re-articulating the point, but I do also believe that in our experience, no matter how often we articulate things, some people miss trees, and sometimes they miss small ones. So I'll be glad to help.
That's what a checklist is for.
It's on the website.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Anyone objecting? There are none. We will appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you, sir. And your vote will be recorded at the VCA, so you're absolutely welcome to come in there.
At the NPU.
Excuse me, the NPU. Yeah. Thanks. One of those groups with alphabet numbers, which is next Monday at 7 p.m. Thank you, sir. We will see you next week. You won't be on quite as early, but Ms. Skopinski is running an accelerated and well-run meeting, and things are getting there much quicker than they used to get.
No, it's 7:30.
It's a good train chance. It'll be there about 7:30. It was last month. And you won't appreciate that until you sit there till 9:45.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Press that button.
Carpool.
We'll return to V15, 124, 857. Yes.
I think you have to
Good evening, everyone.
create a second
Simon Marshall, 1434 Lodge Street, Georgia. I'm here on behalf of Karen and Steve Wade regarding their home and, not to get this street address, 857. I have a few projects going around my head, but I apologize. 857 possibly in place. Just to let you know what is being proposed here, the request before the city of Atlanta is a variance and a special exception. Variances that involve this property is a side and rear yard setback, respectively, to reduce the setback from 7 feet to 3 feet and 15 feet to 3 feet. The special exception is for the driveway. Since this home, they tried as best as they can to do a renovation of their home, and the foundation was so deteriorated that they couldn't. So this is actually a reconstruction of the home. See, and the city of Atlanta requires that every home has an independent driveway. Since this is currently a shared driveway situation at this house, we have to ask for the special exception to eliminate the driveway requirement. So that would just allow for that continued use of the shared driveway to access the home. So this is the nature of the variance here is for this detached garage in the rear. And we did show all of the trees that are associated with the adjoining and on-site locations on the property and around the property. And the garage does not impact those trees beyond the requirement. The side yard setback is suggested at 3 feet to make sure that we orient the garage in a way where we protect the trees and also allow for inclusion of the drainage controls on this property. Because there's some serious drainage concerns in this neighborhood, so we want to make sure that we have enough adequate space to actually accommodate that. This garage here is actually a 3-car garage that currently overlaps this property. So this is going to be cut back onto the adjacent property, and where that encroachment is going to be removed completely. We have met with the planning commission. We've met on the side. We've looked at the property and looked at the different circumstances around it. We do understand the additional requirements for drainage and the arborist requirements, and make sure we work with our surveyor and engineer to make sure that they comply with all of those requirements. At this time, every other requirement according to the zoning ordinance and the building code will be met with this proposal. And we ask that the Virginia-Highland Association recommend approval going to the NPU for this project. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the audience? So this is you will be dealing with the stormwater because it's a new house, so you'll get the full dose, and I appreciate that. Site visit, Laura, anything to report?
No, everything was, as Sharon said, when we were on the site visit, and yeah, it seemed nothing different from what you mentioned. Everything was good to go. We have noted here that your plans are stamped dated May 11th, but I actually don't have a copy? I know I wrote that. Do you have a copy of the stamped plans?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a couple extra copies that we
It'd be great to have that for our
Sure.
records. so.
All right, I think there was no opposition, the neighbors have been notified.
What's the coverage?
The lot coverage is, should be right up here.
It was like 48% from the variance. Record.
36, 46, 38%. 250, everything's in order, you can see, and, so,
updated site. I have a long stamp copy of the
that would be great. I mean, we don't mind a facsimile, but we need something.
Okay.
Things. So the motion is to approve.
Recommend approval of 2015-124. That's going to be based on the site plan that he's giving me now. It's not, I think it might be May 15th, but let's see.
And by the way, we love shared driveways. I think it's a great idea, and you should eliminate the requirement. I think
I
that's a
thought it
code
was
issue.
interesting that they had changed it that way.
Now, a lot of banks really don't like shared driveways for loans.
Legal.
Stamped and dated 6/5. All right, any questions or comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
And
Thank you all.
We've been to Hillside, right? You know where we are at.
Yes.
Okay.
The church,
That's cool.
Hillside.
Definitely.
It is a school, yeah. Opposite, we'll send you a link.
okay.
On Monroe, not far from the entrance.
Down-
Is it an elementary school?
Okay.
It's a
Oh, it's a private school.
It's a school for kids with special needs. So down opposite the far entrance of Piedmont Park, but do look it up because it's not obvious.
1301 Monroe.
13.
Okay.
There's a sign on it.
But take the drive by there and notice the driveway. It's easy to miss the first time.
Okay.
You think that you're going into power poles, but there's a building down at the end of it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. We'll find it.
So actually, Mark's not going to be here today, is that right?
See Mark?
Oh, yes.
Right there.
I was at the church waiting for y'all, but you never showed up.
Thank you, again, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Not the
Literally.
first time it's happened. It is the first. I'm here.
You're on, sir.
Okay. I'm Mark Arnold, the architect. Representing- These are my clients, Ben and Jennifer Johnson.
Nice
Well,
nice way.
So Ben and Jennifer live in what looks like a big house, but it's really a small house. We're gonna make it a slightly larger house. The hatching there represents an expansion at the back from the existing footprint of the deck. 1110 North Highland Avenue.
Got it, thank
The
1116.
1116.
1110 that you?
No, 11, okay, so that's the neighbor, sorry. 1116.
I want to get that straight before.
Yeah, 1116.
Start
North
construction.
Highland. And then the cross hatching here represents where we're building out in the attic. This dark area here is a new carriage house. None of that really has to do with the variance. The variance is required because of this little bump out here. It's an existing stair from the first floor to the second floor. And because we're finishing the attic, we're extending that stair. Because the stair approaches, we need a variance. The floor area ratio is within limits. Lot coverage, the last meeting was right at 50%. We've actually tweaked the site plan and we're showing permeable pavers, so lot coverage is down to 45.6%. And,
Sorry, Mark, let's give yourself what credit for the permeable?
well, you know, I don't know what the city gives me. I went ahead and took 50%, but we'll have to
Okay, that's all right.
We'll come in under 50% lot coverage. So, existing proposed, bumping out the back here. And that's the attic. And then what you're all eagerly awaiting are the elevations. So side elevation kind of tells the story more than the front or back. This is the existing house. So from here back is new construction, two-story construction that'll blend with the existing house. This is the existing stair piece that projects into the side yard setback. So at our last meeting, we talked about whether the stormwater ordinance is required or not. I thought it would be, and I think I verified that it is. I pulled up the information today. And basically, I think there's some confusion about whether a driveway counts or not. And the way the ordinance reads is the entry driveway area leading from the road to the parking and turnaround area does not count. But the parking and turnaround area does count. So if we look at the revised site plan, which you probably, I guess y'all can't even see this. Here. This is why I make copies. I need that one, because I have a drawing of the back.
That has the answer.
That has the answer. That's the cheat sheet. So if you look at your site plan, we're doing, right now it's a gravel drive and gravel turnaround, which is pretty much impermeable because the gravel gets so compacted over time. So we're proposing 2 ribbon, tire strips for pretty much the length of the approach, and that is 662 square feet. And if I'm generous tonight and I take half of it, then we're 331. Oh no, that's all 662. That's real concrete, but it doesn't count because it's the approach. But then the turnaround area at the back, where it sort of lightly has pencil hatching over it, what we're proposing there are permeable pavers with a cobblestone border. In the area that is 543 square feet. And then the garage accessory structure footprint is 691 square feet. So right there, we're already over 1,000. And plus the addition out the back is going to put us well over 1,000. So the stormwater ordinance is going to count. So we're going to have to comply with that, which is good. But from the last meeting, we got to jump on thinking that through. And the Ginger Ross, who some of you may know, she lives in Morningside. She's a landscape architect. She's out of town, but we emailed a little bit. And basically, there's a note. It's sort of it's specific enough where I think you'll be comfortable with it, but it's general enough where we can wait for Ginger to get back in town and detail it. But basically, from this is the low corner of the site, the southwest corner of the site. All the water's going there anyway. That's actually where we have room to do something in terms of planting, because that's where we aren't under any critical root zones. So what the note is calling for like a vegetated filter strip or a rain garden, basically on the low side. And this is a crude sketch of kind of what we're talking about, where if the driveway's here, we do like a linear slot drain on that corner. This is a cobblestone flat waste and a cobblestone vertical to create a little bit of a curve. So any water that travels down the drive is going to get into the slot drain, and then all this would be on a sand bed and a gravel bed. But we could then direct that water into the rainwater garden or planting strip and catch it before it hits the alley.
Outstanding improvement, thank you very much. I think this is great on every count. I'm delighted you'll get to meet the city, but it sounds like you're doing fine without it. Big improvement, thank you all for the effort.
I think the cherry on top is that Ben and Jennifer got a letter from the neighbor behind saying, I've seen it, I know what you're doing. So that's the neighbor behind them on Glen Arden, and he owns the property, he owns 1110. So they have proof of mailing to everyone, but that's sort of the critical neighbor, because it's right up against them, all the work.
Yeah, actually, I think, spinning mark, I think we're all critical neighbors, because I don't want to put your word you're somewhere, but a great job. I really think that's a big improvement, and I'm optimistic, and I hope it'll work. I think it'll be fun, actually. I enjoy trapping water.
It's not, it's nothing new, it's kind of what we did at the Glover too,
Right.
to catch some of the water. So-
No, but you really improved on several counts. Thanks for the extra effort. Good job. What's our motion here?
It's not date stamped,
Yeah, but you will.
I will, but I want Ginger to bless it before I do
Okay.
it.
So,
You may as well get it all ready to roll, absolutely. First shot, if you can.
move to recommend approval of B15, is it 135, this number?
It's 135.
Based on, conditioned on receiving stamp site plans with this rain garden, but we understand that the city will be reviewing this for stormwater retention.
That's all right. But you can assign this for us right here if you will, Mark, and we'll match it up against yours. Go for it.
Is this blue?
Just sign it.
No, he's right.
You could bleed on it and then it would have a color.
You know, it's okay. We're gonna be fine. Let's change it anyway. Let's go. All in favor of this? Any questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Y'all did great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Everything's terrific except your architect has an edge to him, but other than that.
We like that.
We did too.
We'll go get the other people at the library and tell them where you are.
Remember, you were on time.
Good.
You know, 2 out of 3 is excellent. Really
You
good
were in the
job.
wrong place.
Really good job. Here's the key piece. Mark was late to the wrong place. I want that noted. I think that's it for that. Let's go right on to the fundraising committee, which is you, Mr. Becker, and Ms. Ewell. It's something, did we raise any funds this weekend? Thank y'all.
We will not have numbers until the next, well, hopefully we'll have some numbers later this week, but I don't have any numbers at this point.
Really had the festival though.
Festival went pretty well, it was pretty smooth, we did have a couple of issues with some neighbors, but for the most part, I would say it was a very successful festival. No major issues. We did have a car fire at Loadout, but it was, luckily we had fire on site, as we always do.
Where did that happen?
That was Robin's, you know. I told her she's got the best story of all.
Well, I understood it was a car fire without flames, but never
No,
mind.
it was flames.
There were flames.
There was some
He
flames.
had his own extinguisher.
Okay.
Well, that's
So
good.
it flamed, extinguished, it flamed, extinguished, it flamed, extinguished.
Not a great extinguisher, but he had.
All right, but John, anything
If
to add?
if that's the worst we had all weekend, I think we had a pretty successful festival. Yeah, I thought the relocation of Friday night and the band stage to the park went tremendously. I heard nothing but positive comments from people. The shade, the ambiance, we got more tables into the green space on John Howell than we did for Friday night at Edmund Field. So even though we were a little more intimate, I think it just came off very well. So, like Paige said, there were a few little bumps in the road. As with any 2-day event, we saw some things that we could do better and we will do better next year. Nothing mission critical, but, just, things that we could do better. And, I think that's a natural part of the process. So I'm anxious to see the numbers. I think they're going to be very positive. I know the bike valet did extremely well. They did twice what they did on the first day last year. I don't have second day numbers yet, but they were thrilled. I mean, they were really thrilled and got lots of tips and whatnot. So
Almost $1,000 clip. Yes.
Kids Fest looked like it was just
Kids Fest is
kicking
very
butt. I
We were
mean,
there a couple times.
I just got the sense when I walked through the Kids Fest area that it was much more bigger and there were more things to do than we've ever had before, because there were like 4 booths right as you walked along the sidewalk there of our sponsors. And then when you got into the sand area, there were still about 8 more booths with all sorts of different stuff going on in the book sale. So I thought Kids Fest just rocked it.
Well, that was in large part due to Megan McCloskey, since I wasn't here over the
Well,
weekend.
your planning was sure was a big part of it, but Megan did a super
That part of
job
your
on
plan
site.
well,
Good job. It was an accident.
That only works once, Jennifer.
Yeah.
too. The parade seemed to have more people in it too.
We do hope we had a really nice trip.
Yeah, if we do all
Seriously,
that,
I'm
actually,
serious.
seriously. Anybody else, first of all, there was a huge amount of effort from the usual, from what are really professional volunteers, and there was a lot of extraordinary effort around the table from a bunch of people. I really will try to write another article and talk a little bit about it, but it was really.
Oh, I
awesome.
also want to express appreciation to Peggy and Robin and who else? Jack, Stephen for stepping up when no one else would and helping with tear down on yesterday. I mean, we were caught
really
short. So
well in
one
those
area where we were
sections.
caught short volunteer wise, but as usual, people stepped up and made it happen.
It
So.
was very good.
She mentioned had the fire truck involved. The fire truck didn't fit terribly well.
Yeah, I think I can make a comment and commend the, also the city, frankly. There was that big squeak gum that went down last Sunday.
Yeah.
Parks Department, Public Works.
They did a fabulous job in coming in, and it's not fully removed, but they at least replaced it, or removed the debris, and did a nice job of cleaning it up. There's still some damage to bushes and another elm and things like that, but I think all in all, not much of a tree going, we're thinking
Once the-
it's gonna happen on Sunday.
Once the festival was started, really the only thing you saw was the tree sticking up like that. It wasn't, I thought when I saw the smashed garbage can, the smashed poop bag dispenser, and all the azaleas crushed, that it was gonna be an eyesore. And
Why don't you
not
go
a-
ahead and finish, David, with your.
Oh, I'm sorry.
report about the park? No, that's good. We're just dovetailing right into how the park came out after all this.
Yeah, so I mean, I think all in all, Jack and I went over there today, we cleaned up some fencing that we put around some landscaping, and I think all in all, the park, believe it or not, held up very well. The Premier did a good job of fencing off certain areas that probably shouldn't have had people in them to begin with, and kind of egress and ingress routes that we set up worked okay. I think all in all, it's in good shape. I think the tree caused more damage than anything else, and that'll be repairable once we get some rain and some regrowth. So,
And Georgia Works came in both
Yeah.
last week to work with the parks, and then today, and did all of Barnett, and did a last sweep after what was a really good performance by Rob Frazier from their events, but they cleaned it up, and so I really am pleased. They did Virginia-Highland too, which needed just a little bit of extra effort, and they really did a great job there. So I think, as often is the case, at least until you look at how, we'll find some challenges here in the next few weeks that we didn't notice right away, and some we can see. But Walter Bland's going to come in the next couple of weeks and aerate and work on the lawn and try to prop up some things that got crushed. So I think it's such a scary amount of work that I really commend y'all, everybody around here, we all in particular, for pulling this off. Because if you sat around and thought about it sanely, I don't think you'd ever do this. So.
It's amazing the work that all the people that volunteer, everybody that works on it volunteers from our end, but it is amazing the amount of work that all the volunteers do and the dedication. It's really impressive.
So I was at the last music event, and there were people around that knew I was on the board, and they just basically said to tell you all thanks that, so they're like, this is free, and this is an amazing band, and, for us, it's like such a great experience that Virginia-Highland provides us. So,
I like the music on Sunday a lot better than the music on Saturday, personally, but I thought Sunday was solid. I liked everything I heard on Sunday.
The fact that you two are here tonight is pretty good too.
I had a nap today.
Hey, how's it going?
We're getting lonely.
Getting lonely, waiting on me, huh?
Waiting on you.
Okay.
Sir,
So does that mean the floor is mine?
It
the floor
is.
is yours.
Wow.
And I'm gonna warn you, we're Summerfest weary. So we need you to be concise, but tell us what's going on. It's all yours.
Well, overall, I know it may sound like I'm saying the same things over and over, but we are maintaining a 21% decrease in crime compared to the last 28 days from the previous year. We did have the robbery that occurred, involving the Shed and Hollow strong arm robbery, which is being investigated by a company's robbery unit. I don't have any follow-up details of that, but it is continuing to be investigated by that unit. But I mean, other than that, we had one burglary in the last 28 days on St. Charles, where the burglar bars were removed and it was forced to the window to gain entry on that, but there was no real valuable leads. And the constant, the vehicle break-ins, along the restaurant and bar areas, Virginia-Highland, North Highland, Ponce de Leon, and, scattered about through, on those streets in between. So we're continuing to target, put manpower in those areas. The robberies are very isolated, and random. So, we're just trying to have presence in the area so that we can either catch these crimes while they're occurring or prevent them through aggressive enforcement. So other than that, are there any specific questions? I did send that request to Rice, and he told me that he was in contact. Okay, so did you get what you need?
Yeah, I think so. We got on yours. That's distributed, I guess, every Thursday.
Okay.
Every Thursday.
Thanks. So we're talking about crime stats, Jess and Peggy. We've been updating them. Jess has been updating them constantly for the website, and I appreciate it very much. These are hard figures, plus you can use their graphs beautifully, so you can see what's happening. Thank you very much. There you go. Go Excel, go Jess.
But, it's just kind of the same thing. I mean, like
We're
I said,
good.
overall,
We're good.
just
We're not. No news is
continue
fine
to
with
call-
us.
Continue to call 911 if you see something suspicious, so that we can be on the front end instead of the back end, reporting the crime, then we can prevent the crime. Continue to look out for your neighbors. That's what prevents the burglaries. And be aware of your surroundings. That's what prevents the robberies. So other than that, that's all that I have.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
good evening.
See you.
Thank you.
Drive safely. Jennifer, do you want to say anything?
Sure.
We're talking about what's going along Monroe Drive there, an ongoing saga. It's a long-range issue. Go ahead.
So we have instituted a planning process for the Monroe corridor to work on a comprehensive plan related to development and traffic and transportation for our section of Monroe and Virginia-Highland. And Aaron Fortner, our planning consultant, has led a similar focused planning type effort in other neighborhoods in the past. So Aaron has reached out to the city to talk to them about the need for planning for the Monroe corridor, and the city is in agreement and on board. There are a lot of moving parts right now, in particular at 10th and Monroe. The city issued an RFP to sell a portion of their right-of-way of the Beltline, basically adjacent to the gravel parking lot of Park Tavern. So that RFP went out maybe a month and a half ago, and we're waiting to get some concrete evidence on what the plans are for the person who bid. That's really it for now. We're trying to develop a plan, again, that will help address the traffic and transportation issues along Monroe, and also develop appropriate policy and guidelines that will limit any future redevelopment of single-family homes along Monroe and that corridor.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'm going to make one other quick announcement. We're going to try to, we have a very brief executive session we need, and we're trying to get home. There's an article that came out in the last Creative Loafing that we're going to publish. I'm going to forward to you and refer to it. And it's about the mix. The reporter called and asked us for comments on the mix. We referred him to Doug Landau. I felt like the owner is always the best person to speak. Doug had no comment. However, the owner, the reporter has asked the Bureau of Buildings for their comments, and the Bureau of Buildings has affirmed that the building permit is expired with the mix, that the C1 designation is over, that it is now NC, and that all litigation and all issues instituted by anyone, anywhere, have all been resolved. And one of the folks who was involved in, I'm sorry? It is now zoned NC along with all the rest of North Highland and Virginia-Highland. And asked for a comment. Daniel Moriarty, one of the neighbors, who's a lawyer, said that everything had been resolved amicably. And I'm going to write a very short thing tomorrow as an introduction to this article and just say that we are also, we're quite amicable with it, and that the really good news about it is that everything is now NC up there, which is the designation. I think it's going to be good for that spot. It's going to be good for the whole neighborhood. It's going to be good for the owners and people who wind up living or working there. And I was speaking to Aaron about it today, and Aaron just had I thought a great comment about NC, because I think I was congratulating him because he was the person who more than any other in 2008 and 9 thought this area should be NC, and that would be a great zoning designation for us. And I really think it's to his credit, especially of what we're seeing down on Monroe, what's happened up in North Highland behind the church, that he saw this coming along, this development wave coming a long way ahead of it, very, very far ahead of the game. He saw, as I told Jennifer today, he saw the headlights way around the curve. And we got that in, so this community's credit, to everybody that worked on its credit, to the owner's credit. And it's, as Aaron pointed out, it's really, the great thing about NC is it's very difficult to change it. Very difficult to get it, and very difficult to change it once you got it. It acts as a unit by its concept, by its entire concept is one long unit. So folks have got to work together and work with it. And I think, you know, when we will get development there, we look forward to that development. It may not be immediately popular when it happens, but it'll be nice development. It'll be taller than it is now, but it'll be 42 feet instead of 50 odd feet like they've got, pushing 60 feet like they have down on the other end of it. And I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to really be fine. It was very thoughtful. So anyway, I'll write that article and you'll see it. And
The church parking lot did not get changed.
the church parking lot. No, it's not at the end.
He's talking about the other church south of Ponce.
Is the Creative Loafing article already published?
Yes,
It is.
yes. It hadn't gotten much attention. It's kind of buried. It's fine. But I mean, anyway, I think it's a good outcome. Is there any new business to come before us? Absent any, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:01. I'm sorry. Yes, please.
I would just like to point out that the yellow blooming trees in Virginia and Drury and other places are golden rain trees. Golden rain, and they bloom every year now at Summerfest, which is just fantastic. And they are getting bigger and bigger. So they
Don't those have like a green bean thing on them? Do they grow like a green bean seed pod? Do they have a seed pod that grows on them?
Yeah, they do have a seed pod.
Hey, Jack, I do have one other thing really quick, if I may.
Please.
I just want to acknowledge Park Pride did provide recompense in part of their grants. They did supply us payment for that, which was much anticipated and much appreciated. So I wanted to just acknowledge Park Pride for their
$50,000 they paid. Lauren worked hard on that too. That was awesome. So, yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. We're very proud to announce the Virginia-Highland Business Association has launched our new website, virginiahighland.com,
All one word, like Virginia-Highland, all one word?
all one word.